Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started now. So welcome to the WA Training Awards 2015 online information session. I'm Alicia Sangarides, the WA Training Awards Coordinator, and joining me today in presenting the session is Tanya Savas, our WA Training Awards Manager. We're also joined by the lovely Andrea, who has been an Executive Officer on the judging panel for Large Training Provider of the Year and also Employer of the Year categories in the past. Tanya has also been a judge on the Vocational Student category, and she'll be sharing her advice on that a bit later on as well. Just before we commence, can you please ensure your microphone is not turned on throughout the session unless you're asked to switch it on. You'll find this in the top left corner of your screen, the button marked Talk. So if you can make sure that that's switched off, just because there'll be a bit of background noise in the recording of the session. We are recording the session today, and it'll be available on our website for people to view and listen to by the end of the week. So if you do have any questions, type them into the chat section in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Throughout the session, we'll allocate time to go back and answer your questions. Also, throughout the session, I may ask you to give me a smiley face or a confused face to indicate how you're going before we move on to another topic. We did this a bit earlier with a few people who joined the session early. Smiley faces are located just underneath your name and picture at the top of the screen underneath participants. So can everybody give me a smiley face now if they're happy to move on? Wonderful, that's wonderful. All right, so this session is designed to give you all the information you need to help you prepare an award-winning application this year. We've got the session outline on the screen for you now. So today we'll run through a brief introduction. We'll go through categories, eligibility, and conditions of entry. We'll have a look at the judging process. We'll show you through our website and the tools available to make preparing and submitting your application straightforward. And we'll show you how to use the online application portal. And of course, there's some very interesting information on what the judges are looking for, which I'm sure you're all happy to hear. So again, a reminder that this session is for you. We want you to get as much out of it as possible, so don't be shy. We really do encourage questions. So just type them in that chat section in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen if you want to know anything.
Thanks, Alicia. Hi, everyone. It's Tanya Savas here. Welcome. Alicia, for those people participating who haven't heard of the awards before, can you explain briefly what the awards are about?
Absolutely. The WA Training Awards recognise the outstanding achievements of apprentices, trainees, vocational students, and then also the contribution to training made by trainers, training organisations and employers. This year, the WA Training Awards are in their 21st year, and we're really excited to have all of you involved and see all of the applications coming through in the online application system so far. Prizes exceeding $80,000 will be awarded to this year's state winners at a presentation dinner on Friday, the 4th of September, and that'll be hosted by our Minister for Training and Workforce Development. The WA Training Awards also articulate to the Australian Training Awards. They're the peak national awards for vocational education and training, and they recognise innovation and excellence in the training sector. The awards are the culmination of the state and territory training awards, with winners from each state and territory competing in the national finals. So you could be the best in Australia by applying for our WA awards. For more information on the awards and to hear experiences from past winners, head over to our website. You'll find videos of past winners' experiences, and there's also a section called 5 Reasons to Enter, where you can get some great advice from last year's winners. So now I'll pass you over to Tanya, who's going to touch base on the benefits of entering a WA Training Award.
Thanks, Alicia. Now, some of the benefits for individual applicants are $5,000 from your category sponsor to help kickstart your career to further your training, recognition from your peers as the best in the state, opportunity to represent WA at the Australian Training Awards in Hobart in November. This does not actually include the WA Culturally and Linguistically Diverse Training Award. There's also networking with other high achievers and potential employers at a state and national level. Employers will value your dedication and your achievement, so it's actually really quite helpful helpful as far as career advancement is concerned. Some of the benefits for organisations include a prize to the value of $8,000 from your category sponsor, recognition from your peers as the best in the state, the opportunity to represent WA at the Australian Training Awards in Hobart in November. This is for eligible categories only, and publicity and promotional opportunities for your organisation. Just think, your organisation will be promoted as being the best in the state. An increased profile to potential students, apprentices, trainees and employers. Now, Alicia, would you like to take us through the different categories, please?
Not a problem. In 2015, there's 13 WA Training Awards categories, 7 categories for individual applicants and 6 for organisations. The winners of individual categories, as Tanya mentioned, take home a $5,000 study grant, and they'll represent WA at the Australian Training Awards. As Tanya mentioned, the only exception here is the Culturally and Linguistically Diverse Training Award. This is an award that's unique to WA, so unfortunately it's not part of the national awards. Moving along to the next slide, we've got the organisation categories. The winning organisation will receive a prize to the value of $8,000. Now this may be $8,000 cash, or it may be $8,000 worth of advertising with the Sunday Times. The prize is dependent on the category, and you can find that information on our website. 4 of these categories will articulate automatically into the Australian Training Awards, and then you'll have the option to become a finalist, so there's a judging process for that. Oh, sorry, I've just lost where I am. The 2 that don't are the Training Initiative category and the School Pathways to Vet category. We do encourage all applicants for that School Pathways to Vet category to apply themselves directly to the Australian Training Awards. They have a category for this, but it's not linked to the State and Territory Training Awards. So you can find more information about Australian Training Awards direct entry categories on our website.
Great, thanks. And Alicia, how is the eligibility defined and what is the reasoning behind it?
The WA Training Awards, as I mentioned, articulate directly to the Australian Training Awards for many of the categories. Therefore, our eligibility and criteria are aligned to that of the Australian Training Awards. Eligibility is different for all categories, so it's important to check the application kits or our website for more information. We'd hate you to go to the trouble of completing an application if you weren't eligible. It is important for all student categories, however, that you are completing or due to complete your training contract between the 1st of October 2014 and the 30th of September 2015. If you don't fit within these dates, you may be better off applying next year, but talk to us if you do think there's an issue with that. The exception for this is school-based apprentices. Obviously, they finish their schooling in November, so that's acceptable as well.
Great, thanks. And are the conditions of entry the same for individuals and organisations?
Thanks for asking, Tanya. No, conditions of entry are different for organisations and individuals. There are some conditions that are applicable to both, but there are some important differences. So you need to make sure you refer to the right conditions of entry for you. I currently have conditions of entry for individuals on the screen, and I'll just show you the organisations one now as well. This is on our website and it's in the application kits as well, so there's ample opportunity for you to read through that later.
Lovely, thank you. And just a reminder, if you ever have any questions, if you can just pop those questions in the chat room, it's in the bottom left-hand corner. So at this stage, we don't actually have any questions, so we'll continue on. Alicia, what are the tools available on the website?
Right, well what I'll do now is I'll just take you through the website. So I'll just share my screen with you. And then you'll be able to see what our website looks like, and we can go through a few of the different sections to give you a bit of a heads up. So just bear with me for a minute while this loads. Yep, okay, here we are. Right, now everybody should be able to see the WA Training Awards website now. Just give me a smiley face if you can see that. Okay, great. That's wonderful. All right. So on the website, we'll take you through a few sections. The awards for individuals over here, basically that's all about individual award categories, and you've got an application guide there that you can download specific to your category to give you all the information you need to apply. We've also got that for organisations, as well, so you can download the specific pack for you. Our How to Enter section is probably a pretty important one to look at. This gives you all the information about what you need to do and how to use the WA Training Awards application portal. So have a read through that before you start online. The link to the portal's there as well. In the Tools for Applicants section, we like to give you as much help as we possibly can throughout this process. So you've got examples there of award-winning applications. Please note these are just for individual categories. Obviously our organisation winners are not necessarily open to sharing their trade secrets, but do have a look through the individual ones to get an idea of what you can include in yours. We've also got evidence guides there. Now, they're to give you an idea of what kind of examples you can give when answering your criteria, and they're for both individuals and organisations. You've got the reference and application endorsement letter information there. You can use our templates to hand over to your boss or employer to get a reference or an endorsement. And then there's checklists as well to make sure you've ticked all the boxes before you go into the application system and submit your application. And then also a good important thing to look at as well is our WA Training Awards blog. This is a new initiative this year, and it's aimed to give everybody a little bit more information to help them be as prepared as possible throughout the whole awards process. So at the moment we're featuring a bunch of posts on how to write your application, and then obviously there'll be things throughout the process throughout the year as well. Taking you back up the top here, our conditions of entry are there as well, and FAQs if you want to go through a few things. You can always ask us questions if you need to, but those are listed there for the things we commonly get asked. Back to our home page, you can see all of our social media links at the bottom there, so you can follow us on all of them to stay up to date with all the latest information. Okay, now I'll just hop out of here and take you back to the presentation. Right, can everybody see that now? We're back to the presentation? Yeah, great. Okay. All right, now we're going to go over the application portal as well. So I'll just hop in there and show you through that. This is something new as well this year. All applications are going online. So it's really easy to use, and it makes it a lot easier for you submitting your application directly to us. So all you really need to do is register on the home page. Oh, I've got somebody's microphone on. Can I just get the person with their microphone to turn it off for me, please? We're getting a bit of feedback noise, that's all. There we go. Okay, so just having a look at the portal now. I've got a little mock application here that I've started to give you an idea of what you need to do. We're in the Details tab right now, but for individuals, you'll need to fill in the Details section, criteria, attachments, and the individual applicants. For organisations, you'll need to fill in Details, criteria, attachments, and the organisation applicants section. The first thing you need to do is hop in here and do the Details page. Your criteria won't actually come up until you've filled in this section. As you can see here, this is where you put in your personal information and select your category. Once you've done that, like I've got here the Apprentice of the Year information, which gives you the eligibility for your category. And once you've selected all of this and pressed Save and Next at the bottom, you'll be able to go into the criteria section. Now, I will just note that this section here, there is a page limit on applications. For individuals, your responses to the selection criteria must be a maximum of 5 pages. For trainers, applications should be a maximum of 15 pages, and that includes your attachments. And for organisation applicants, your responses to the criteria should not exceed 20 pages. So how do you ensure this when you're applying in an online portal? It's pretty easy. All you need to do is cut and paste your responses from the Section 2 Criteria tab and paste them into a Word document to check the length of your application. The page limits are in place as a requirement from the Australian Training Awards to create a fair and equitable process for everyone. And please note that these page limits are based on 12-point Arial font. So yeah, it's best not to try and type it in at 8-point font and then put it in here because it will be over the page limit. So in the criteria section, on the left-hand side are all of the major criterion headings. And then on the right side are all of the sub-points you need to address to respond to this criteria. So in response to criterion 1, career and study achievements, you need to address A, any personal or career accomplishments achieved by participating in your studies and your job, B, how you can demonstrate your understanding of the value of learning, and C, how you have integrated on-the-job and off-the-job training and what benefits this has held. It's really important that you answer all of these criterion because you are going to be judged against each point. We'll have more about judging in just a moment, so we'll go over that for you. Now moving over to the attachments. If you click to expand, you can see what attachments individuals and organisations should include in their applications, and there's links there to get templates if you need them, which we went over in the website earlier. Please note that you shouldn't really include any more attachments than what's stipulated here. That's all we need for your application, and your application really is judged on your criteria. So the individual applicants section will take you in there. Obviously, it's for individual applicants only. This is where you can complete the information on the course you're studying, list a referee, and provide details of your employer or your school if that's applicable to you. In the organisation section, only organisation applicants should apply, and here you'll be able to provide your CEO or MD's details and also the contact person to receive all correspondence relating to the awards this year. It's important that you complete all of the sections relevant to you before you do submit it. You can go back into the system and edit your application at any point during the application period, but make sure you're happy with it before you press that all-important submit entry button at the bottom there, because once you've submitted it, you can't go back and make any changes. All right, now we'll just hop out of there. Oh, yep, okay, here we are. And we're back into the system. Right, so now before we continue, are there any questions about the website or using the application system? A maximum number of attachments, I've just seen one from Danny there. Really, it depends what category you're applying for. You can attach all of your awards and certificates, but it might be easier if you've got images of them to put them in a Word document and attach it as one attachment, just so that you're not overloading the system with loads and loads of images. So I hope that answers your question, Danny. Brett, can you submit an application for an individual and organisation? Really, the individual needs to submit their own application. So if you're putting in an application, you can't really put an application in on behalf of somebody. You need to make sure that that individual applies themselves. If you're the organisation, you can help them with that application, but they do need to register themselves. So get the individual to do their application, and the organisation obviously can apply for an organisational category as well. Do we have any other questions before we move on? Okay, not a problem.
Lovely, thanks Alicia. What can you share with us about the judging process?
Right, there's 3 streams of judging, one for organisations, one for individuals, and then a slightly different process for the culturally and linguistically diverse, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, and the Trainer of the Year categories. Having a look at the flowcharts on your screen now, you'll see that applications are submitted and then shortlisted by training councils to determine semi-finalists. These semi-finalists are then interviewed by a different judging panel at the WA Training Awards Semi-Finalist Judging Day, and it's at that point that 3 finalists and 1 winner will be selected. The winner's then announced at the presentation dinner, of course. Now, there's a little sub-paragraph just on the corner there about CALS, ATSI and trainer categories. These are really similar to this process. However, they don't include the training council component. So they have the same judging panel throughout the process that will shortlist their applications and interview them. For organisation categories, it's a little bit different. Applications are submitted, then they're shortlisted by the panel where up to 3 finalists are selected. These finalists will take part in a site visit, which will assist in determining the winner, and then that'll be announced at the presentation dinner.
Lovely, thanks Alicia. I just noticed we had a question that came through, and the question was just to clarify, to check the word limit, we copy and paste answers into Word.
Yes, so when you're inside the application system that we were showing you through earlier, in section 2, that's where you put all of your responses in. So you can literally copy and paste that out of the system into a Word document to check the length. Alternatively, you can obviously start your application in a Word document and then copy and paste that all into the system if that makes it easier for you. But either way, if you can copy it in or copy it out to make sure that your page limit for all of your answers isn't longer than the required limit. Does that answer your question, Pia? Just give me a smiley face if it does. Great, thank you.
Great, thanks Alicia. Now when talking about the judging process for individual categories, you mentioned the WA Training Awards semi-finalist judging day. Can you share with our participants today what happens at the judging day and what entrants can expect?
Oh, I love the judging day. It's my favourite day of the year because we get to meet all of the individual applicants. So this is a day that's just for individual categories. This year it'll be on Friday the 17th of July and it's going to be held at Central Institute of Technology in town. Each semi-finalist will be interviewed by a judging panel. The interviews consist of 2 parts so that the judging panel can meet you and learn about you and your achievements, your goals, your story. First, you'll be asked to give a 5-minute response to a question. This question will be given to you a couple of weeks in advance to ensure you've got adequate time to prepare. So for example, the question might be, what are the challenges currently facing your industry and what can be done to overcome them? So you'll have time to plan your response to that question. After that, then you have question time. The judges will ask you a few questions and these will be aligned to your selection criteria, so there really shouldn't be any surprises, and you'll give your response to those. These questions will be given to you on the day about 15 minutes before your interview, so you'll have a little time to prepare for it. A step-by-step walkthrough of what to expect at the judging day. When you arrive, you'll be greeted by the WA Training Awards team at the welcome desk and we'll make a note that you've arrived for your interview. 15 minutes prior to your interview, you'll be given a list of questions that you'll be asked to read through and you can make notes and mentally prepare, and if there's anything you need clarification on, we'll be available to assist you. When it's time for your interview, a panel member will come and collect you and they'll take you to the interview room. Your panel is going to consist of a chairperson and 3 panel members. They'll be a mix of industry people, high-level public servants, sponsor representatives and previous winners. The panel will have received your application previously and they'll be aware of what you've written, but this is your chance to elaborate on your written application. After your interview, a panel member will escort you out to the lobby where you can relax. That is, of course, until you're called to do a quick photo and a video shoot with us. Please don't stress about the photo and video shoot. It's quite informal. The photos and video footage will be used if you make it through as a finalist, and they're showcased at the presentation dinner with a little bit of a story about your training pathway. They might also be used for a few other awards promotional activities. Do remember that this interview process is your opportunity to sell yourself and your training story to the judging panel in person. You are most welcome to bring examples or relevant props to help you if that'll make it easier for you.
Thanks, Alicia. That's really helpful. Now, moving on to organisational categories. Andrea, welcome. You've been a WA Training Awards judge for several years now. Can you give us a rundown on what typically happens at a site visit and how it's structured?
Yes, I can, Tanya. Good morning, everyone. The panel members will first read the applications and shortlist them. And then following that, we'll conduct the site visit with the shortlisted organisations. Dependent on the judging panel, between 2 and 4 panel members will conduct the site visits. This enables panel members to find out more information about your organisation. Now, generally, 2 hours will be allocated to each site visit, and applicants don't need to use the total allocated time. However, you will be given the option. A suggested format for your visit could be as follows. So you could start maybe with an introduction to the organisation by the applicant. Then you might wish to follow with a tour of the facilities to showcase what you have on site. And finally, question time, which is where the judging panel will ask the applicant questions relating to the selection criteria. So organisations facilitate site visits very differently. For example, one organisation may have one presenter only, and another organisation may have several presenters, and invite students and other stakeholders to share their experience. Again, this is your opportunity to sell your organisation and its commitment to training to the judging panel. So you can facilitate the site visits however you see fit for your organisation.
Lovely, thanks Andrea. Now at this point I'd just like to check in with all of our participants. Can you give me a little smiley face if you're comfortable with what's being discussed, or if you have any questions about the judging process before we move on? And can you type them in the chat box, again located just in the left-hand corner of the screen. Lovely, thanks. Alicia, are you able to give us a brief overview of the presentation dinner?
Right, so if you're selected as a finalist, you'll be invited to the WA Training Awards presentation dinner brought to you by CCI Apprenticeship Solutions, our proud sponsor. On the screen now you can see a few pictures from last year's event. This year the awards are held on Friday the 4th of September at the Perth Convention and Exhibition Centre. Typically around 500 or 600 people attend the event, and guests include finalists and their families and friends, sponsors, training organisations, judges, and of course the Minister for Training and Workforce Development, as well as a variety of training sector stakeholders. If you want a little sneak peek at the event, check out our YouTube channel and view the Perth City Talks segment from our 2012 awards evening, and that'll give you a bit of an idea of what happens and what it looks like. Now, as mentioned, eligible category winners have the opportunity to represent WA at the Australian Training Awards. Tanya, would you like to share with our participants what happens at the Australian Training Awards and Finalist Week?
Sure. Now the Australian Training Awards is a prestigious event with more than 700 people attending, including state ministers, heads of organisations and senior government officials. Each year the Australian Training Awards is held in a different state. This year the awards will be held on the 19th of November in Hobart. Now Finalist Week is held during the week leading up to the Australian Awards, and it's for all individual students with a national pathway are invited to attend Finalist Week. Unfortunately, this does not include the Culturally and Linguistically Diverse Award or the Trainer of the Year categories. Each year, our WA winners attend Finalist Week and have the opportunity to meet and spend the week with winners from other states across Australia. And the WA Training Awards team will be right by your side. This is a great networking opportunity for everyone involved, and past participants have really valued this experience. Last year's finalists attended a series of events, including a welcome dinner, team activities, professional development day, hospitality events, and the awards ceremony. Judging interviews will also take place for all individual and organisational categories during the week, and the WA Training Awards team will be here to support you through the process. Of course, the WA Training Awards team want to make sure that our state winners are fully prepared for this experience. To give you an idea of how we generally prepare our finalists for the Australian Training Awards, specific to individual categories, we actually give everyone one-on-one mentoring with qualified mentors, and sessions with training councils to ensure finalists have up-to-date industry-specific knowledge. We have contact with previous winners to ensure finalists receive advice from successful predecessors, sessions with judging panel members to provide constructive feedback on their interview performance at the WA Training Awards Judging Day, and we also have an Australian Training Awards preparation workshop. That's 2 full days of training, an education on effective communication skills, media training, making a good first impression, interview skills. We do mock interviews, and it's really about understanding your role as an ambassador. Again, if you have any questions at this point, please type in the chat room and we'll spend a little time answering any questions. Lovely, thank you. Now, Andrew, a few questions for you, given you've participated as an exec officer on the judging panel for a large training provider category and the Employer of the Year categories in the past. Can you share what you think judges look for in an award-winning application?
Okay, thanks, Tanya. The first thing we look for is if applicants meet each selection criteria, and below that, each individual subpoint. If each subpoint is addressed individually, it's much clearer for the judging panel to see from the written application that they have addressed all the criteria, and also where to find the information that relates to the separate criterion. We're required to score each criterion separately. For example, on the screen at the moment, there is the overall criterion, and beneath that, the subpoints, A, B, C, and D. These all need to be met. This is very important, because if you don't address each point in some way in your application, your application will be ineligible.
Lovely, thank you. And what is about a winning application that makes them stand out from the others?
Okay, so when an application is structured well and the content we require is easy to find, it makes a world of difference when rating an application. In the online application system, it literally has all the major headings, and you write your response under each heading, so it makes it easier for you. As far as how winning applications stand out from the rest, well, they have demonstrated that they meet the criteria by giving examples and supporting these examples with results and outcomes. This gives credibility to what they are stating. For organisations, you may like to consider, for example, what makes your organisation or initiative unique, any qualitative data and other evidence of success, how well your organisation understands its clients, or detailed processes for continuous improvement, or even how your way of working can be replicated, or how it represents best practice in the training sector locally or even nationally.
Lovely, thank you. And how do you go about rating applications?
Okay, so each member of the judging panel is required to rate applications individually at first. So the way we do this is to score each individual criterion using the selection matrix, which you can see on the screen at the moment. You can see that a score is required for every criterion and subpoint. So this is why it's so important that you clearly address each criterion in your application. Then we meet to compare our assessments and discuss the applications. From here, we'll combine our individual ratings to agree a shortlist of finalists. This is applicable for all awards categories, both individuals and organisations.
Now, before we go any further, Tanya, you've been a judge on an individual category for several years. Would you mind sharing with everybody what you look for in a worthy individual recipient and how winners stand out for you, both in their written application and at their interview?
Sure, not a problem. Now, from my own experience, what judges are looking for is someone with authenticity, showing that you're sincere and genuine and that you value training. Someone who's passionate about their training and industry. Good communication and presentation skills are essential. Basically, is a finalist well prepared, dressed appropriately, able to listen and respond appropriately and confidently. And what has been the impact of the training? Has it provided a new career opportunity, helped to overcome difficult life circumstances, or provided inspiration to others? And how are you dedicated to study, motivated to succeed, and have a good study and work ethic? In addressing the criteria, we cannot stress enough that you address all the individual points in each criterion and that you lay it out clearly to make it really easy for the judges to assess your application. Make sure you include specific examples of when you've done something that's relevant to that particular criteria during your training and employment, and really how you've actually demonstrated that skill. For example, if the criterion refers to, say, your level of self-reliance and resilience in times of challenge, don't just state that you work well in times of challenge. We want you to recount a time of challenge in your training or workplace and how you dealt with that or those particular challenges and the result.
Thanks for that, Tanya and Andrea. Now, if anyone has any questions about what the judges are looking for, feel free to pop them in the questions, pop your questions in the chat room in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. And if there aren't any questions, we'll move on.
Lovely, thanks Alicia. Now I believe there are also award categories unique to the Australian Training Awards that can be applied for directly through the Australian Training Awards program. What can you share about these categories?
All right, so looking at the slide on the screen now, there are other opportunities for organisations to be recognised outside the WA Training Awards. And we'd like to bring your attention to that because you could be recognised nationally for categories that we're not offering. The 6 categories on the screen recognise the outstanding contribution towards the attainment of Australia's national training system priorities. For these awards, you have to apply directly to the Australian Training Awards, but if you are applying or you intend to apply for these awards as a representative of WA, we would love to hear from you and we're happy to offer support where possible. So to find out how you or your organisation can apply directly to the Australian Training Awards, visit their website. You can navigate to that through our website. There's an Australian Training Awards section there for you.
Lovely, thanks Alicia. Now on the screen now are some key dates for individuals and organisations that you may want to put in your diary. These include application closing dates, shortlisting, judging day and site visits, and the all-important presentation dinner. These are also available on our website and in the back of the application kits.
Right, well that brings us to the end of our session today. In summary, ensure that you're eligible for your chosen category. Make sure you're well aware of the key dates and you've got those in your diary. A reminder that there are some fantastic tools available on our website to help you with your application and ensure that you address each point in each criteria. That's really, really important. Also in the application system, complete all relevant sections to you. Don't miss out anything. Make sure you've got your attachments, you've filled in the information in either the individual or organisation applicant section, and you've filled in your details and of course criteria. Make sure you're telling your story. You're the only person that knows it, and it's the best story you know. So really, it should be so easy for you to tell us why you're so great. And of course, apply today. We can't wait to see your applications. Now, I've just seen a question popped in the box. Who am I eligible to email to confirm our eligibility as an organisation? You can send an email through. I'll just pop our contact information there, trainingawards@dtwd.wa.gov.au for any questions you have. You can also give me a call on 65515608 or 65515609, and we'll be able to answer some questions. To check your eligibility though, have a look at the category pack on the website for your category first, and then if you've still got questions, feel free to contact us. So in between now and application closing date, which is on the screen, Friday the 8th of May 2015 at 5 p.m. If you've got any questions, feel free to contact us. We're here to help you. The session has been recorded. I did press the record button, so that's great. This will be available on our website by the end of the week, and we'll email it out to all of our participants and everyone who registered so that you can listen to it again if you need to, or show it to anybody else in your organisation. We've got another question in there just before we close. Tanya, this is probably one for you because you've actually judged this category in the past. Danny would like to know if there's any tips for vocational students.
Sure. Now the tips are really, as I mentioned beforehand, it's about being really authentic with your interview and with your application and identifying what you're really, really passionate about. So basically you're in that training area and you're choosing that career because there's something that you're really passionate about, so you really need to share that with judges. And at the end of the day, just be you. I mean, that's the most important bit of advice I can actually give people, is to just really be you. And that's for individuals or for organisations.
Right, we've got one more question there about the definition of small and large organisations on the website. If you hop into the category packs for small training provider and large training provider, it shows you the amount of enrolments that establish you as an individual, as a small training provider or a large training provider. I believe it's 1,500 students. So if you have below that, you're a small. If you have above that, you're a large, and that's for current enrollment. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the session. Thank you for all your questions. Again, if you do have any more questions that you don't want to ask in this forum, feel free to email us or give us a call, and we'll be happy to help you. And the session's recorded, so we'll send that out to you. So on behalf of everybody at WA Training Awards, thanks for participating today, and we can't wait to see your applications and meet you at the site visits or the judging day. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.